Tonight is Shabbat, but this week we also commemorate those who perished in the Holocaust for Yom HaShoah, the Israeli Day of Holocaust Remembrance. I've taken the duty to preserve and pass on the musical traditions of my forebears, much of which was erased by the Shoah. This has also been Dr. Ralph Selig's life mission, so I'm honored to welcome back to Temple Emanu-El tonight, Dr. Ralph Selig. This Shabbat, our service takes on a different tone from most others. The Shoah shattered the faith of many, yet we proclaim ours on this Shabbat. Our ancestors were sought out for destruction, yet we tonight stand here to honor them. We sing their music in both remembrance and joy. Even on Yom HaShoah, the joy of Shabbat takes precedence. We sing their music as they no longer can, and we remember always. In the spirit of remembrance, we invite survivors and the relatives of the slain to light 6 candles in memory of the 6 million whose lives were cut short. For our first candle, we invite Rabbi Wright.
As the great Rabbi Chaim Stern taught us, out of the depths I cry to you, Adonai, hear my supplication. A heavy burden has fallen upon us, and sorrow has bowed our heads. We turn to you, the source of life, to comfort and help. Give us the eyes to see that pain is not your will, and that your world weeps with us in this time of sorrow. We seek comfort and solace from the distress that has overtaken us. Let us find that comfort and solace in the love of family and friends, and the sources for healing that are found in all of our wisdom traditions, and in the resilience of the human spirit that helps us endure through the most difficult trials and troubles. Grant us the strength to endure what is inescapable, the wisdom to accept what cannot be undone, and the courage to go on without bitterness or despair. For the victims of David Hor-Dork, my great-grandmother Shtedel, may their memories forever be a blessing.
For our second candle, we invite up Betty Steinmetz and any family that would like to accompany her.
We must be listened to above and beyond our personal experience. We have collectively witnessed a fundamental, unexpected event, fundamental precisely because unexpected, not foreseen by anyone. It happened, therefore it can happen again. This is the core of what we have to say. It can happen, and it can happen everywhere. Primo Levi.
For our third candle, we invite up Bob May.
We stand on our We stand as one on this night of remembrance, united in grief, united in loss, united in the power of a promise God has made to us. God will sustain us. We gave praise in his life and rise up together to renew our strength. Well, what's the magic?
Hold both down.
Both down.
I do it for you.
Thank you.
That's what I learned in rabbinical school.
New gadgets. Thank you.
Thank you. We invite up Mark Robinson for our fourth candle.
There is divine beauty in learning. To learn means to accept the postulate that life did not begin at my birth. Others have been here before me, and I walk in their footsteps. The books I have read were composed by generations of fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, teachers and disciples. I am the sum total of their experiences, their quests, and so are you.
We invite up Jack Schnepper for our fifth candle.
We are alive, we are human with good and bad in us. That's all we know for sure. We can't create a new species or a new world. That's been done. Now we have to live within those boundaries. What are our choices? We can despair and curse and change nothing. We can choose evil like our enemies have done and create a world based on hate. Or we can try to make things better. Carol Mattis. Okay.
For our sixth candle, Dr. Ralph Seeley.
Avinu Malkeinu, let there be perfect rest for the souls of the 6 million who died as Jews in the flames of the Shoah. Let there be perfect rest for the countless millions who died because of race, religion, or nationality, political affiliation, or sexual orientation. Hold them close to you forever. Seal their souls for everlasting life in the shelter of your presence, for you are the eternal home. Together we say, Amen.
Take the candle. Light it As Candle Winter taught us, as we remember, but it's also Shabbat, we are commanded not to mourn, but to celebrate the gift of rest and renewal. We open our Mishkan Tefillah, our prayer books, to page 124. And we read together. We enter the sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. We turn back to page 120 as we light our Shabbat candles. For those who are able, we rise together for Kiddush 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam orei veri hakafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav meratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'b'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'asei bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh seichel yitziat Mitzrayim kivanu bachartam beotanu kidashtan mikol hamim b'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'b'ratzon inhaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
We read together at the top of page 127. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act and care nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, and day of peace. We continue with the bottom of page 133 with Psalm 98.
Turn to page 138 for Lecha Dodi. Jeff, we skipped a piece. Lecha Dodi. Yeah, that's the next one.
לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה.
Vittoria,
Shabbat Hamelka.
Boi v'shalom ateret mala, kam b'simcha u'b'tzolam. Oi chalam.
Please be seated at the bottom of page 140, Tzaddik Katamar.
Turn to page 144 for our Chatzi Kaddish.
יתקדל ויתקדש שם רבה, בעלמא דברה חילותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחי דכל בית ישראל. הגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב מימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמם מימרו אמן.
We rise together, 146. We read together the top of page 149. Praise you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way in which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time, of light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hamariv aravim, on the next page.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, amcha ahavtam, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadetam. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochbeinu uvkumeinu, nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki heim chayeinu be'orech yameinu, u'bahem nehgem yomam balayla. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים לחיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We read together at the top of page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Our song of freedom and redemption, our Michamocha 158. Top of page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Our Hashkivenu 160.
Oh
ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ותקננו בעצה טובה ועצה טובה מלפניך בהושיענו למען שמך בהגן מעדנו בהסר מעלינו אויב דמן מחרב מרע מינון בהסר שטן מלפנינו ומאחרינו ובצל כנפיך ושמור צאתנו בואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
The top of page 163. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. Vishamru, the top of page 162. Shine.
Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביינים ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשם אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת מי נפש.
The middle of page 165. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. And for those who are able, we rise together for our Tefillah 166.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We read together at the top of page 179. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace. and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. Make a tempered reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace.
We take a few moments for silent meditation.
Of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable, unto thee, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer, my Lord and my
On this Shabbat, we think of those in our community, those who are in need of healing of body or spirit. We think of Linda Applebaum, Margaret Bell, Harold Seitlin, Deborah Chargois, Orit Cohen, Karen Edwards, Edward Goldberg, Jeffrey Goldman, Sandra Goldman, Miriam Goldstein, Fran Curry Harrington, Josie Hatfield, Emily Held, Evelyn Held, Donald Himmel, Ralph Holtzman, Corey Kessler, Jerry Lapidus, Rush Lishkoff, Elaine May, Zane Mondlik, Marlene Meyerson, Malka Bat-Rachel, Susan Schumann, Leslie Simon, Christy and Don St. Charles, Brenda Weinstein, Hunter Weidman, Kevin Woods, and Edgar Zimmerman. For those with us this evening, if you are thinking of a loved one or friend and you wish to share a name out loud, we invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. For those names mentioned out loud and for those names that are still in our hearts, we continue with our Misha Berach.
Avraham, יצחק ויעקב. מי שברך אמותינו, שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
We sing Eile Ezkara.
Shabbat Shalom. Eile Ezkara. I recall. I recall silence. Why silence? Because when I grew up, my father, who came from Mannheim, Germany, left on a Kindestransport, a children's transport to England, August 23rd, 1939, 1 week before World War II started. He went to the train station at Mannheim. His parents were at the train station with a lot of other children. Their final words were, "Sei brav," be good. He was with his 9-year-old brother, and they never saw the parents again. It's amazing how in 2022 we see the same images again. As we say in German, das lässt mir gar keine Ruhe. That leaves me no peace. My father never spoke much about his childhood because he wanted me to have a better life and tried to isolate me from the horrors. My mother was not any better. She was 7 years old when she left Berlin. And every time I asked her something, she would say, you know, I was very young, I don't remember, sometimes you think you remember. But that was a way of avoiding the conversation of her childhood. Ela es kara. I recall these. But in our family, there was silence. I mentioned once before, and I will mention again, we all have a yearning somehow to connect with the past. And this reading, which comes from the prayer book where we read on Yom Kippur, is how I feel when I go and try and connect with the past. Of steel and iron, cold and hard and numb. Now forge yourself a heart and come to walk the world of slaughter. You shall wander in and out of ruins. Look in where all the black and gaping holes appear, like ragged wounds that neither wait nor hope for healing more in all this world. How does one reconnect with the past? April is a month of reconnection. We just finished Passover. We retold the stories to our family and to our children. This Passover, I decided to pull out a Haggadah from my great-great-great-great-grandfather. That's right, you heard right. And in this Haggadah, as we say in German, war diese ganz kleine Zettel, were these very small pieces of paper. And on these pieces of paper was our family lineage. And on this lineage were the names of my forefathers, when they were born, when they died, and most importantly, their Hebrew names. You can imagine how emotional that was. And all these pieces of paper were at one place in the Haggadah. Just like my grandmother kept the matzah every year, it was a German tradition, a minchag, to take the matzah on the second night, break it apart, put it in saran wrap, and put it in the Haggadah where it said, Lishana haba'ah b'nei Yerushalayim. And I remember very clearly on the day of Passover at 12 noon, after my grandmother did all the cooking and prepared, she would always take this piece of matzah and discard it. And every year, that tradition continued. And we know that matzah lasts forever. And I was so moved by going through the crumbs of this Haggadah, because that was really the only physical connection I had with my forefathers. Yes, I have photos of them, and yes, there are photos in my apartment where I look at them every day and I think of my parents and grandparents and my great-grandparents. But the Haggadah was very powerful. My good friends, I would like you all to remember me. Next Passover, when you have the family together and you have the Haggadah in front of you, the modern Haggadah talk about the Shoah. Take a moment to talk to your children and grandchildren about your past. Write it down, because even though children don't want to hear or they're too young, one day when you are no longer there, that will be a very powerful recollection of you and your forefathers. And maybe, just maybe, you will sit down and talk to them and tell them about your history. If they don't want to hear it, write it down. Because when I look at those little tzetels, I'm very moved by this. But it is also my connection to the people who gave me life. Young kids may not want to hear it, but when they get older, they will be sorry they didn't listen. Another interesting parallel to the story is that my cousin's daughter decided this year to put a Stolperstein down. Eine Stolperstein in German is a stone where you put it into the ground where people used to live. And it's not only a German thing, it's done throughout Europe. And the idea is that when you walk by this Stolperstein, this monument stone, you look at the names of the people. And the idea is to think, just for a moment, what happened and who were they? Ela Eskara, I recall. Next time you're with your family, take a moment to recall the past. Would you please open your prayer book to page 583 and read with me? Page 583 on the left. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, and for they are now a part of us, and we remember them. At this point, I'm going to ask that everybody turns to page 533. We will all rise for the Martyrology Kaddish. Please rise. Auschwitz,
Beit Katan,
Lodz,
Shemei Rabban,
Ona,
Be'alma Tivrach Irutei,
Babia,
Ve'yamlich Malchutei,
Mainane,
Bechayechon u'biyomechon,
Birkenau,
ובחיי דכל בית ישראל.
Kovnau,
עגלה ובזמן קריב,
Nauska,
ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתפרח וישתבח
Theresienstadt,
ויתפאר ויתרומם
Buchenwald,
ויתנשא ויתהדר.
Treblinka,
ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשא בריחו.
Bergen-Belsen,
לעילה
Mauthausen,
לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה
Minsk,
דמירן בעלמא
Warschauer,
ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רב מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Normally during this time, our third annual Omer game, in the spirit of what we're doing, it would be disingenuous to engage in a trivia contest. And so I wanted to come up with something creative, something meaningful as we count the 14th night. And then one piece of trivia that has some type of reflection for this moment. Belgium was the 14th country to recognize the state of Israel, January 15th in 1950. As an ardent Zionist, the state of Israel did not happen because of the Holocaust. If you look at the works of Jabotinsky and our other founders of the Zionistic movement, Israel happened because if we will it, it's no longer a dream, as I like to say. But there is a connection, and as I taught before, in West Jerusalem houses Yad Vashem, the museum and memorial that remembers those who were murdered in the Holocaust. But right next door in the Jerusalem forest, there is a path. And if you have a good guide in Eretz Yisrael, the tour guide will tell you the following reason. The reason why there's a path between Yad Vashem to West Jerusalem in this forest lies Mount Herzl. And Mount Herzl, those who are buried there are those who defended the state of Israel. 'Israel. 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 ' or those dignitaries who represented the state of Israel. The message is transparent. Yad Vashem remembers those who were sent to the slaughterhouse. Mount Herzl will play another picture for the fight of the Jewish people. Our story is today, we will no longer be sheep. If we go down, we will go down fighting. So that's why there's Yom HaShoah in Israel. And soon there'll be Yom HaZikaron, Israel's Memorial Day. But immediately right after, Yom HaAtzmaut, to rejoice in the birth of a new state. So today we rise together, we turn to page 570 as we count the 14th day of the Omer, one step closer to receiving Torah at Sinai.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו מציוונו על ספירת העומר.
Hayom Arba'a Asar Yom Shehem Shnei Shavuot LaOmer. Today is 14 days, which is 2 weeks of the Omer. We remain standing, Aleinu 586.
עלינו לשמח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, מלא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, בגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. נאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We turn to the bottom of page 596, and we read together. We have lived in numberless towns and villages, and in too many of them we've endured cruel suffering. Some we have forgotten, others are sealed in our memory, a wound that does not heal. 100 generations of victims and martyrs, still their blood cries out from the earth. And so many at Dachau, at Buchenwald and Babi Yar. What can we say? What can we do? How bear the unbearable, or accept what life has brought to our people? All who are born must die, but how shall we compare the slow passage of time with the callous slaughter of the innocent, cut off before their time? They live with faith, not all but many, and surely many died with faith in God, in life, in the goodness that even flames cannot destroy. May we find a way to the strength of that faith, that trust, that sure sense that life and soul endure beyond this body's death. They have left their lives to us. Let a million prayers rise whenever Jews worship. Let a million candles glow against the darkness of these unfinished lives. On this Yom HaShoah service, on this Shabbat, we recall the yortzites of Annie Bertha Abelson, Helen Allenberg Applebaum, Ann Asher, Sidney Morris Bernheim, Lawrence Bunsey, Paula Bunsey, Thomas Bunsey Jr. and Thomas Bunsey Sr., Reva Saul Cohen, Ruth Oppenheimer Dorman, Sidney J. Friedman, Harry Gilbert, Max Glazer, Eli Goldberg, Bernard Goldstein Sr., Eleanor Goodman, Miriam Mimi Green Goodman, Mary Grober Grob, Marilyn Isay, Yetta Krakovitz, Rose Kushner, Larry A. Levine, Milton K. Lewis, Nathan Marks, USN, James Harold Moss, Max Lorch Mayer, Gertrude Muss, Martha Newman, Morris Pinhas, Hortense Mickey Pizitz, Jean Reitman, Hyman Rips, Jean W. Roseman, M.H. Roseman, Benjamin A. Roth, Harvey N. Rothstein, Naomi Russin Royal, Dina Sachs, Gertrude Schulhafer, Edward Schulman, Howard Leonard Schultz, Merle Cotton Schultz, Rosalind Blitz Schulwolf, Sandy G. Siegel, Donald Silverman, Isidore Sperling, Arthur S. Steiner, Hurley Curly Thompson, Jean Thompson, Ruth G. Weiner, Benny Witt, Evelyn Wolf, Alfred Yergin, Rose Stern Zalman, and Gloria Joan Zimmerman. Our heartfelt condolences in the recent passings of Judy Ayland, mother of James Allen Spector, grandmother of Dayton Lewis and Leon Ayland Spector, cousin of Dr. Jack Ayland, Robert Ayland, and Robert Levin, Kenny Hanley, friend of Ben Singletary, Joan Jacobson, mother of Ben Jacobson, Dana Jacobson, and Lori Jacobson, Esther Light, mother of Simona Herring, grandmother of Rose Herring Cobb, Wesley Herring, and Sidney and Charlotte Cobb, Edgar Marks, father of Edgar Marks Jr., Catherine Simon Marks, and grandfather of Edgar Marks III, Griffin Marks, and Samuel Marks, Yaakov Steinman, father of Maria Bertrand. May their memories forever be a blessing. We rise together as a united congregation. We turn to our Martyr's Kaddish, once more, 598. Yikadal, Vikada, Shemei Rabbah, Bioma Divrach Rote Vamlich Malchute, Bechayachon of Yom Echon, Ufchayet Bechol Beit Yisrael, Bagolah Wizman Kariv Yimru.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Yolam Olamel Maya, Yitbarach Vishtabach Vitbaar Vitromam Vitnaseh, Vitadar Vitalev Vitalal Shmei Kutsha
Riku.
Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram yoma v'yimru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael, v'yimru. Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, huya asei shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael, v'yimru. Amen.
Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom. Alleluia kol Yisrael,
Before we conclude, I would like to thank our octet who have been fabulous tonight. Their names are Kathy Spence, Leah Desiderio, Gloria Parvin, Laura Melton, Stan Nelson, Roderick George, Zachary Banks, and Craig Brandwine. Thank you very much.
And before we conclude, just a few announcements. Please join us tomorrow as we celebrate the continuity of Jewish life with Shabbat services. We read the Torah. And tomorrow night, please join us here for a special Havdalah, again with our scholar in residence. And also, Dr. Seelig will be teaching Torah study tomorrow in person and virtually at 9 a.m. Not done yet. And this Thursday at Abrams Hall, we will have the movie Upheaval. It's an incredible movie about the Begin Revolution, the great Prime Minister of the State of Israel. This Thursday, please come and join us. We're going to have good food and much to celebrate. And on Sunday is our final day of religious school. I can't believe it. Thank you, sir.
Zachar Tilach.
אבותיך הנביאים, כתוב לאמור, הלוך מקראתם מאוזני ירושלים לאמור, כה אמר אדוני.